Welcome back. This week I want to talk you through a situation that I have seen with a lot of people, and it drives me nuts because the math doesn't make any sense, but the psychology kind of does. So, what I'm talking about is paying down debts and the order that you should pay them down and why paying off some faster doesn't make sense and so on. Now, what I run into is a lot of people, they'll have credit card debt, they'll have a personal loan, they'll have a boat loan, they'll have whatever it is, and a car loan. And the fixation is I want to pay my car off. And the second that I can pay my car off, I've got all this extra money from my car payment not being there. And I understand that compared to a credit card minimum payment, the minimum payment on your car is generally a lot higher. Now, the psychology behind that makes sense, right? Make the big payment, get rid of this big loan, and then I've got the extra, say your car payment's $500, and you've got the extra $500 a month to put into something else that you want to put it into. The problem is the math doesn't line up that way. The math says you would pay off your credit cards first because they have the highest interest rate working against you, and then you would work your way down, right? And looking at the S&P, looking at other investments, I model out about an 8% return. The S&P is like 10 minus inflation. You sit at about 8% over the long term. And an 8% return, if you go look at your auto loan, the interest rate on your auto loan is definitely lower than that, probably lower than that. Especially if you got it during the pandemic. I mean, I saw rates down at like 1.5%, 1%. They're so low. And the same thing with mortgages. Mortgages at the time were like 3%. So why would you prepay a 3% loan when you could take all that extra money and put it into either your credit card, which is a much higher interest rate working against you, or into an investment like the S&P making 8%, which is higher than 5, right? So you'd get 8% working for you, and you would net, even if you took out that 5, you net that 3% on top, right? So you're effectively giving up the opportunity to earn more money than you're paying. And that's where people kind of get lost in it because the two things are separated and they're in different accounts and they don't sit next to each other and you don't see the math readily available. But that is how the math works. So I implore you, go look at all the different debts that you have, pay them off by interest rate, and then once you get below about an 8% interest rate, then you start investing the extra money and you only make minimum payments below that. That is what I help my clients do. When you start to see it that way, the psychology of before, I'm going to have this extra $500 a month, goes away. And you go, that extra $500 a month is not contributing to making me more money by paying off more into it, right? So if I paid $200 extra to my car payment, that $200 could have gone to an investment to make me more money. And that's how you change the psychology around your debt and the way that you look at it and the way that you pay it off. And that's how you get the wins long term and not give up the opportunity to earn more money. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next week.